when you do that, is, the bugs come and you spray something and then they come and then you create a super bug, right? Because you don't take care of the problem. You don't take the trash out. You just keep spraying whatever over it to make it acceptable. And then, as those things grow, then you create a super bug. And then now we have Donald Trump, the super bug.
Forget about subtle shots. Jay-Z just bulldozed Trump on live TV and didn't even break a sweat. No metaphors, no industry politicking, just straight truth, no chaser. While Trump's still busy rehashing the same tired lines about greatness, Jay pulled receipts, ripped the mask clean off, and showed America exactly what's lurking underneath the spray tan. Trump's probably somewhere fumbling his phone, frantically trying to clap back, but how do you recover when one of the sharpest minds in music just dismantled your entire Grift Live bar by brutal bar? This wasn't a diss track, it was a televised takedown.
You can't really address something that's not revealed. He's bringing out an ugly side of America that we wanted to believe was gone. And it's still here, and we still got to deal with it. And we have to have the conversation.
Jay-Z doesn't just drop bars, he drops truth bombs. And when he sets his sights on someone, especially someone as perpetually fragile as Donald Trump, you know it's going to be brutal. Imagine being a billionaire, a rap legend, and a cultural icon, and still taking the time to completely dismantle a former president in front of millions. That's exactly what happened when Jay-Z decided to pull back the curtain on Trump's antics, exposing his never-ending chaos.
Jay-Z to fill up arenas, We do it the old-fashioned way. We do it the old-fashioned way, folks. We fill them up because you love what we're saying and you want to make America great again.
News, I'm Hanuman Welch. People around the world once again got the chance to see how thin Donald Trump's skin really is following Jay-Z's appearance on The Van Jones Show. During a recent appearance, Jay-Z was asked for his opinion on the current political climate and specifically Donald Trump's recent controversial shithole comments. And in a poignant response, Hove offered up Donald Sterling's scandal as an example of how America continuously fails to address racism at its very core.
This is the leader of the free world speaking like this. But on the other side, this is big.
Now, Trump is no stranger to celebrity feuds. The man collects them like unpaid invoices. But Jay-Z, that's a different league entirely. This isn't some late-night host making jokes about his orange hue or his bizarre obsession with fast food. This is a man who built an empire from the ground up, who navigated the cutthroat music industry, and then seamlessly transitioned into business and activism. Someone who actually understands economics beyond shouting about tariffs on social media.
We have a president that comes and says every African country is a country. I mean, how does that land with you as a dad?
Yeah, it's disappointing and it's hurtful. But on the other side, this has been going on. This is how people talk. This is how they...
If you're enjoying, please subscribe. Let's talk about the meltdown that followed. Trump, who famously can't handle criticism from anyone who isn't a Fox News anchor, lost it. The moment Jay-Z called him out for his policies and his treatment of marginalized communities, Trump did what he does best: denial, deflection, and all caps rants. Jay-Z's words hit harder than a Rockefeller beat. He wasn't just exposing Trump's rhetoric, he was laying out the facts, pointing to economic disparities, racial injustices, and the blatant hypocrisy of a man who claims to fight for the people while building policies designed to hold them down. And the beauty of it all? He didn't have to yell. He didn't have to resort to cheap insults. He simply let the truth do all the heavy lifting.
It's free.
Jay-Z continued to talk about politics throughout the rest of the interview, and while he admits that he's no politician, he does seem to notice a lot of the same problems that we all notice when it comes to the way laws are made and how they affect the American people.
It's people attached to these laws. And I think they've forgotten that piece, that these things are going to affect real life people. When you put in like prison reform, like people are going to jail and families are being broke up and fathers away from their children and the family structure is broken. So that kid grows up, that kid gets into trouble, he goes to jail, and the cycle is vicious.
Meanwhile, Trump's supporters scrambled to spin it. The usual talking heads jumped on television to dismiss Jay-Z's statements as celebrity whining, conveniently ignoring the fact that Trump himself is a reality TV star who still treats the presidency like a ratings game. It's almost poetic. watching people twist themselves into knots to defend a man who wouldn't even let them into his golf club. And let's not forget the sheer irony of Trump's own obsession with the hip-hop world. Before he turned politics into a circus act, he was desperately trying to rub shoulders with rap's biggest names. There was a time when he wanted to be part of the culture, showing up in music videos, posing with rappers, and acting like he was in on the joke. But as soon as it became politically convenient, he flipped the script, suddenly portraying himself as the ultimate enemy of the same industry he once tried to be part of. Jay-Z saw right through that.
Moment, and this time's up moment. Does that give you hope for your daughters? I mean, how do you make sense of this new rise of women's voices?
Yeah, I think it's, again, I believe everything happens for a reason. You know, everything is a learning experience, you know, the good, bad, and the ugly. And, you know, this had to happen to purge itself, you know, for you know, men who've been in position for so long. And then, of course, if you're in that position of power to abuse your power, you get drunk off success. It's like human nature if you go unchecked. It takes a really special person to have that sort of power and not.
Then there's the business angle. Trump loves to talk about success. But let's be honest, if business acumen were a rap battle, Jay-Z would be headlining and Trump would be the guy getting booed off stage. Jay-Z built his empire with intelligence, strategic partnerships, and an actual understanding of economics. Meanwhile, Trump is out here selling NFTs of himself dressed as a superhero to cover legal fees. The contrast could not be starker. And what about leadership? Jay-Z has been investing in communities, creating opportunities, and using his influence to push for real change. Trump, he spent 4 years dodging responsibility, blaming windmills for energy problems, and convincing his followers that he alone could fix everything, before promptly making everything worse. Leadership isn't just about talking a big game, it's about results. And on that front, Trump simply doesn't measure up. At the end of the day, this wasn't just another celebrity calling out Trump. This was a man with a track record of success, a voice that people respect, and a perspective rooted in real-world experience, taking a stand against a man who built his legacy on smoke and mirrors. Jay-Z didn't just expose Trump's policies, he exposed the very foundation of his persona, showing the world that behind all the bluster and bravado is just a man desperately clinging to relevance.
I believe that CNN and MSDNC, who literally write 97.6% bad about me, are political arms of the Democrat Party. And in my opinion, they're really corrupt and they're illegal.
And that's the real reason Trump lost it. Because deep down, even he knows, Jay-Z doesn't just win battles, he ends them. Jay-Z has never been just a rapper. He's a cultural force, a businessman, and a political voice that actually carries weight. While Trump shouts about greatness on social media, Jay-Z moves in silence and lets the results do the talking. He's been vocal about racial injustice, mass incarceration, and economic inequality long before it became trendy. And unlike certain political figures, he doesn't just talk. He funds initiatives, creates opportunities, and puts his money where his mouth is. When he spoke out about Trump's leadership, or lack thereof, it wasn't some desperate bid for attention. It was a man who has built an empire from nothing, calling out another man who was handed everything and still managed to screw it up. Jay-Z's activism isn't performative, it's strategic. He doesn't just tweet outrage, he bankrolls entire movements. Whether it's criminal justice reform, supporting black-owned businesses, or ensuring legal representation for those wrongfully convicted, he steps in where the so-called leaders fail. Meanwhile, Trump's idea of community support involves throwing paper towels at hurricane victims like it's some dystopian halftime show.
The normalization of the things we have to do to survive. Like for women to like go to work knowing that this sort of abuse was happening every day. Happening every day. Because you can look and, you know, logically you'll say, why would you stay there? Right. Yeah, what's the alternative? Yeah. What's the alternative? You have to survive in America. And in order to survive, you have to normalize it. So this has been going on. So for it to get uncovered and the world to correct itself. That's beautiful. This is what it has.
And let's talk about approach. Jay-Z is calculated, controlled, and methodical. He plays the long game, whether it's in business or activism. Trump, on the other hand, treats leadership like a reality show where the goal is to create as much chaos as possible before the network finally cancels him. Jay-Z builds wealth and shares it. Trump files bankruptcy and somehow convinces people it was a genius move. One elevates, the other exploits. And the funniest part? Jay-Z's reach goes beyond just music. He's had conversations with presidents, helped shape policies, and backed grassroots efforts that have real-world impact. Meanwhile, Trump is still bragging about walking into a room full of celebrities in the 90s, acting like being in rap lyrics before 2015 counts as a political endorsement. This is the guy who once bragged about hanging with hip-hop's elite, only to turn around and whine when they didn't support him. Trump spent years pretending he was down with the culture, name-dropped in tracks like he was some kind of mogul, but the moment those same artists called him out, suddenly they were washed up and overrated. Jay-Z didn't change. The world just stopped playing along with Trump's delusions.
He's not a very sophisticated man, especially when it comes to, the ideas of until everyone's free, no one.
It's almost poetic. Jay-Z, a man who made himself into a billionaire, stands in direct contrast to a guy who was handed millions, blew it on failed casinos and fraud, and now screams on social media whenever someone calls him out. Trump wants the admiration, the respect, the legacy. Jay-Z actually earned it. And that's why his words hit harder than any political speech ever could, because people know he's real. While Trump is just playing a character he can't even keep consistent. Trump used to be hip-hop's favorite mascot, back when he was just a flashy businessman with a bad spray tan and an overinflated ego. Rappers name-dropped him like he was some kind of success symbol, the walking definition of wealth and excess. His name popped up in lyrics alongside mentions of yachts, Rolexes, and penthouses, and for a while, he basked in the attention like a man who had accidentally wandered into a party he wasn't invited to but refused to leave. But then he stepped into politics, and let's just say the music industry didn't exactly follow him into the MAGA sunset. The moment he started using divisive rhetoric, the hip-hop community turned on him faster than one of his ex-lawyers flipping in court. Suddenly, the same rappers who once referenced him in their songs were making entire diss tracks about him. Jay-Z, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, they weren't just distancing themselves, they were publicly calling him out.
27 all over the place to campaign for crooked Hillary. And I don't think it's going to work. And she's not getting any crowds. So she gets Beyonce and Jay-Z. I like them. I like that. And you know what they do? I get bigger crowds than they do. It's true. I get far bigger crowds. Look at it.
The irony here is almost too good. Trump spent his whole life craving celebrity status, desperate to be in the same circles as the biggest names in entertainment. He wanted to be seen as larger than life, a man so rich and powerful that even the biggest stars had to acknowledge him. But here's the thing, real celebrities don't have to beg for relevance, they just have it. And when Trump realized that his Hollywood dreams were crashing harder than his casinos, he did what he always does, he played the victim. Snoop Dogg, who once appeared alongside Trump at a roast, ended up putting him in a music video where he literally fakes shooting a Trump lookalike. Eminem, who previously made casual references to Trump in his early days, dropped an entire freestyle destroying him. Jay-Z, who once attended his parties, publicly called him out for his racist policies. Even Kanye West, the only rapper who seemed willing to entertain Trump's antics, eventually backed away like a man realizing he made a huge mistake at a timeshare presentation. Trump wanted to be adored by the entertainment industry, but he ended up being their favorite punchline instead. He thought he was the king of cool, but now he's just the guy getting roasted at every awards show. Even people who don't normally get political couldn't help but take a swing. The man went from being a status symbol to a cautionary tale.
As president.
This guy, I'm looking at him like, man, this is a joke. With all, I can't even say with all due respect, with all disrespect. He's not a very sophisticated.
It's the ultimate fall from grace. Trump loved hip-hop when it made him look good, but when the industry stopped playing along, he turned on it like a scorned ex. He started attacking artists, calling them washed up, claiming they had no talent. This is the same guy who once smiled for pictures with rappers like he was an honorary member of the culture. Now he's out here ranting about how Hollywood and the music industry are out to get him. Trump wanted fame, and he got it, just not the way he imagined. Instead of being remembered as a cultural icon, he became the subject of parody sketches, diss tracks, and late-night monologues. The man who spent decades trying to be a celebrity finally got his wish, but instead of red carpets and VIP parties, his legacy is now tied to lawsuits, scandals, and an endless cycle of public humiliation. Jay-Z turned street smarts into boardroom dominance, mastering industries Trump could only dream of conquering. While Jay-Z strategically invested in tech, sports, and entertainment, Trump's greatest investment was convincing people that slapping his name on a building was a business model. One man made billions without bankrupting a casino. The other somehow lost money running a literal money-making machine. Jay-Z built brands that elevated communities, while Trump sold everything from phony universities to overpriced steaks. The real mogul here isn't the guy screaming about his net worth on social media, it's the one making power moves in silence.
Trump, your president, sent out a dangerous tweet aimed at Jay-Z because of Jay-Z's criticism of his shithole country's comments. Somebody please inform Jay-Z that because of my policies, black unemployment has just been reported to be at the lowest rate ever recorded. All caps is what he tweeted. Remarking Donald Trump's comments in an interview on CNN's The Van Jones Show, Jay-Z said, "It is disappointing and it's hurtful. It's really hurtful." Jay-Z said lower unemployment among blacks doesn't make up for Donald Trump's attitude. He said, "It's not about money at the end of the day. It doesn't equate to happiness."
Trump treats celebrity criticism like a personal betrayal, lashing out at anyone who doesn't shower him with praise. He once loved Hollywood elites until they stopped inviting him to parties. Now, every tweet, every late-night joke sends him spiraling into all-caps fury. Trump thrives on validation from famous people, but when a legend like Jay-Z drags him, it stings in a way no late-night monologue ever could. His base, of course, will rage tweet about woke Hollywood elites, completely ignoring the irony of worshiping a guy who spent his whole life begging for celebrity approval. Trump now has two choices: throw a tantrum and fuel the fire, or pretend he didn't hear it while secretly seething in Mar-a-Lago, possibly flipping over a ketchup-covered steak.